Hey, how are you? I'm SliceofOtaku, and outside of the diamonds, arguably the most powerful singular gem we know of has to be Rose Quartz. Rose possessed an incredibly versatile arsenal of abilities that pretty much put all other lone gems to shame. Being able to alter her own gravity, resurrect organic life, raise sentient plant life, heal pretty much all physical damage, project an invulnerable shield, and more, some of which we may still be in the dark about considering we only just learned about the whole resurrection thing. And if it wasn't already abundantly clear, Rose Quartz is OP, busted, and broken. That much has been established. But what about all the other Rose Quartz gems, all of which we've seen bubbled in the episode That Will Be All? What exactly differentiates our Rose from the presumed thousands of others? Well, first and foremost, there's her mentality. Rose was quite different from all gems in this regard. Over the course of an innumerable amount of millennia, never once has such a large-scale rebellion occurred in the history of Homeworld. Such a thing was unheard of and incomprehensible prior to her existence. She was a gem that questioned her own existence and longed to truly be alive, to live beyond the system she and her fellow gems had all belonged to. The question of whether or not Rose Quartz was a defective gem is old as dirt at this point. And I don't think the answer is as straightforward as a lot of people would like it to be. Rose is not a defective gem in the same manner that Amethyst is. Yet, her ideology is defective to that which Homeworld stands for. But as we've seen in all the gems we've come to know at this point, and may presume about the gems who once fought under the Crystal Gem banner, they are all in some way defective or flawed. These flaws stemming from their existence as self-aware, conscious beings capable of decision making. Instead of being mindlessly obedient automatons, they are consciously obedient automatons. Rose simply capitalized on a defective nature all gems possess on some level. What's important is that Rose acted on her feelings. It's possible that countless gems have longed for freedom in the past, but Rose didn't just leave her dreams to be dreams. She took action. And I mean, she could have simply defected from Homeworld and existed as a lone renegade, but she decided to fight for others, to inspire other gems and protect the native inhabitants of Earth. Bismuth believed that this made Rose different, despite just being another quartz soldier made in the dirt like all the others. And I believe this is what affected her abilities as well. By far, the most infamous ability Rose Quartz possessed were her healing tears. This ability alone turned the tide of battle many times over, allowing for a vastly outnumbered Crystal Gem rebellion to actually stand in contention with the Homeworld Armada. But why was this ability so incredible when Homeworld had a pool of Rose Quartz at their disposal? Because if you remember, when Yellow Diamond questions why Blue Diamond can't bring herself to eradicate the bubbled Rose Quartz gems, she makes it clear that they're unacceptable because one of them shattered a diamond, which is very different from being punished because one of them incited a rebellion. So with that in mind, it seems like Rose Quartz gems remained in service even during the War for Earth. If Homeworld had that many healers on the battlefield, the Crystal Gems would have absolutely no chance at victory. So it's safe to say that despite having Rose Quartz gems in their use during the war, none of them possess the ability to heal like our Rose did, which I think we can attribute to two reasons. First off, Homeworld had no idea how Rose was actually healing other gems. In the episode Bubbled, Eyeball refers to Rose's ability to heal as a Homeworld rumor, and when Eyeball is healed by Steven's healing spit, she doesn't go on to say, oh well, Rose Quartz only healed with her tears, like she did when it came to Rose's sword being remembered rather than her shield. With that alone, she instantly believed Steven was Rose Quartz. It looks like Homeworld never received clear intel describing how exactly she managed such a feat, but we're aware that she was in fact capable. And I wonder if this is because of Homeworld's incompetence in this regard, or the Crystal Gems are just really good at keeping secrets, which, when considering how little we know about them as a whole, is to me the more believable of the two. Anyways, the second reason no other Rose Quartz possess the ability is due to their circumstances. Like I said already, mentally, our Rose Quartz was unlike any other gem. She truly cared for others and cried for them. Her designated Homeworld purpose was to be a soldier, an unwavering display of brawn and Homeworld's might. On the battlefield, gems being shattered would have been a common occurrence for a quartz soldier. Getting sentimental and emotionally invested in one another to that extent was unacceptable, as such feelings were to be reserved for the diamonds. And so you wouldn't have Rose Quartz Gems crying over one another, healing the wounded, because their connections were not personal, but instead an obligation to Homeworld. And with that, there's no way the Diamonds would be able to rack their brains enough to come to such a conclusion. Despite being adversaries, Jasper and even Yellow Diamond respected Rose's tactics. So by no means would such brilliant gems recognize what they considered to be weakness and frailty to be her greatest virtue. So it's entirely possible that our Rose isn't the only Rose Quartz capable of healing, but is the only one to have reached the conditions necessary. It's kind of like how, as far as Homeworld knows, Era 2 Peridot have no powers, and so were instead given limb enhancements. But once Peridot was placed in a predicament where she had nothing to rely upon, she unlocked her ferrokinesis. All of this can also be applied to Rose's affinity towards organic plant life. Due to her appreciation of all life on Earth, she was able to cultivate this power. A Rose Quartz with a Homeworld mentality would only view such things to be unnecessary or repulsive, thus limiting themselves. Other than that, when it comes to weapon projection, the other Rose Quartz gems would probably have things other than a shield, like how our Ruby has gauntlets and Eyeball has a dagger. And at the end of the day, all Rose Quartz gems are strong, but our Rose was strong in the real way. When you tether yourself to what other people designate to define strength or sacrifice your individuality in favor of a hive mentality, you're only limiting yourself. Don't just think about what you could have or would like to be. Become it. Take the plunge. Dare to truly believe in and be yourself. Then take that wisdom, take that experience, and inspire another person. Help ignite and cultivate the potential burning inside them. Because I mean, really, that kind of positivity, when you can give that to someone else, when you can spread that happiness, that joy, that love, it makes you feel incredible. It's a great feeling. And I think that although Rose Quartz has done a lot of questionable things that we still don't have answers to and we don't understand, she was able to make those mistakes. She was able to mess up, and that's what separated her from all the others. And if anything, this is the kind of stuff that the Crewniverse is trying to convey to us, to let us know that, okay, you messed up, but people remember her for being incredible. Although she messed up, and you know, a lot of times that's glossed over, they don't really look at that, it's because they see how incredible of a person she was and how much she was able to accomplish by being flawed and looking at the flaws, acknowledging that she's not perfect, that all the other gems are not perfect, and trying to make them be happy. Like that's so great. And so by having all these Rose Quartz gems, all of these gems that would physically be no different from her with the very same potential, it not only emphasizes the greatness of our Rose, but the possibility for these gems to follow suit and do the very same thing. Which, as far as I'm concerned, would topple Homeworld, easily defeat Homeworld, no questions asked. And I want you to think about that. Really, really think about that. Before they were bubbled, if they had decided to believe in themselves, to believe that they are greater than what they've been designated, to take their lives into their own hands, they could have won, easily, no questions asked. But they didn't. And so they limited themselves, because having the abilities of Rose Quartz, the Rose Quartz that we know, our Rose, was unforeseeable. You wouldn't know that you would suddenly have these crazy extravagant powers when put in a different situation. But if you don't take that plunge, if you don't take that chance, you'll never know. And personally, that terrifies me. It's scary to not take the initiative, to leave your life primarily up to chance and not take matters into your own hands and stand for what you believe in. The equivalent of being bubbled here would be stagnation. This is exactly where a fear of change will lead you. So friends, what route do you think the bubbled Rose Quartz gems would take if they were to be released? And if you're in a predicament where you can't be true to yourself, or you're afraid of what would happen if you do, I ask that you release yourself from that way of thinking, because it's easy to see you never know in a negative light, but you'd be surprised how liberating being true to yourself can be. Thank you all so much for watching, and have an awesome day. I love you.